The endless void of space flickered with an unnatural light as something impossibly large began to take shape. Dr. J. Park watched the holographic display, his fingers trembling slightly as the first images of the cosmic titan materialized. It wasn't just big, it was beyond comprehension. Signals from deep space research stations began flooding global communication networks. Distant colonies went dark one by one, their last transmissions describing something that defied all known physical laws. The Titan moved like a living nightmare, consuming entire star systems with a casual indifference that suggested intelligence far beyond human understanding. At the Global Defense Headquarters in Seoul, Admiral Hyun Kim studied the incoming data. Decades of military training couldn't prepare him for what he was seeing. The entity wasn't just destroying. It was systematically consuming entire civilizations, leaving nothing but quantum dust in its wake. "We're tracking multiple dimensional breaches," a young technician reported, her voice cracking with fear. The holographic display showed massive energy signatures spreading like a cancer across multiple star clusters. Each point of light represented millions of lives, now gone. Dr. Park pulled up historical records of previous cosmic encounters. Nothing compared to this. Alien civilizations that had contacted Earth in previous decades were sending desperate communication bursts. Their messages were clear. Humanity was the last potential resistance against the cosmic titan. The entity moved without sound, without typical propulsion. It simply existed, warping space and time around its massive form. Preliminary scans suggested it wasn't a single organism, but a collective consciousness spread across multiple dimensional planes. "How do we even begin to understand something like this?" Admiral Kim muttered, watching another star system vanish from the galactic map. Global emergency protocols activated within minutes. Every scientific institution, military base, and research center began mobilizing. This wasn't just a threat to Earth, this was a threat to the entire concept of existence. Dr. Yuna Lee, a brilliant xenobiological researcher, began running complex simulation models. Her team worked around the clock, analyzing every piece of data about the cosmic titan. They discovered something peculiar. The entity seemed to respond to specific quantum frequencies, almost like it had a fundamental weakness hidden within its immense power. Communication attempts from various alien races became more desperate. Holographic messages showed terrified representatives of civilizations that had survived for millions of years, now reduced to begging humanity for help. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Humans, often considered the youngest and most primitive species, were now the universe's last hope. Military satellites began tracking the Titan's movement. It wasn't random. There was a calculated precision to its path, suggesting a form of intelligence that human minds could barely comprehend. It moved through star clusters like a predator, consuming everything in its path. "We need a plan," Admiral Kim announced during an emergency global conference. Representatives from every continent watched with a mixture of fear and determination. The world that had once been divided by politics and borders now stood united against a threat that could erase everything. Dr. Park's research team discovered something extraordinary. The cosmic titan, despite its immense power, seemed to have a complex quantum signature that might be manipulated. It wasn't just a mindless destroyer. It was a complex system that could potentially be understood, and maybe, just maybe, controlled. Massive research stations were quickly converted into defensive platforms. Every scientific breakthrough, every experimental technology was now focused on a single goal: finding a way to stop the cosmic titan. The first direct observation came unexpectedly. A deep space probe, moments before being consumed, transmitted critical data about the entity's internal structure. It wasn't solid. It wasn't energy. It existed in a state between possibility and reality. Humanity had faced extinction events before: asteroid impacts, climate challenges, potential nuclear conflicts. But this was different. This was a threat that could erase not just a planet or a civilization, but potentially the entire concept of existence. As the cosmic titan continued its relentless journey towards the solar system, something remarkable began to happen. Human scientists, military strategists, and researchers from every discipline started working together with a single unified purpose. The countdown had begun. The cosmic titan was approaching, and humanity would either find a way to stop it or be erased from existence. The world transformed overnight. Every research facility, every laboratory, and every technology center became a hub of intense activity. Dr. J. Park stood in the Central Command Center, watching as global resources were redirected with unprecedented speed and coordination. Quantum laboratories that once worked on theoretical problems now focused on a single mission: developing technology to contain the impossible. Dr. Yuna Lee's team worked without sleep, creating experimental systems that could potentially restrict interdimensional movements. Massive particle accelerators across different continents were reconfigured. Scientists who had spent decades in competitive research now shared every piece of data instantly. The threat was too big for academic rivalries or national boundaries. Military installations became research centers. Weapon systems were reimagined, not as tools of destruction, but as potential containment mechanisms. Admiral Hyun Kim oversaw the transformation, understanding that traditional warfare meant nothing against a cosmic entity. Satellites were repurposed to scan quantum frequencies. Communication networks that once served commercial and personal purposes now became a global early warning system. Every piece of technology was now a potential weapon against the approaching Titan. Underground research facilities were constructed in strategic locations. These weren't just bunkers, but advanced technological platforms designed to study and potentially resist the cosmic threat. Governments invested resources beyond anything seen in human history. The global economy shifted dramatically. Resources that were once used for consumer goods were now directed towards scientific research. Manufacturing plants began producing specialized equipment designed to detect and potentially restrict quantum anomalies. Psychological preparation was equally important. Global media campaigns focused on unity and collective purpose. Fear was transformed into determination. People understood that this was humanity's ultimate test of survival. Experimental quantum entanglement technologies emerged from theoretical papers into practical applications. Dr. Park's team discovered that certain quantum frequencies could potentially create localized dimensional stress points. It was a breakthrough that gave hope where there was only fear before. Space exploration programs were accelerated. Missions that would have taken decades were now planned and executed within months. Every satellite, every deep space probe became a potential source of critical information about the approaching Titan. Military training changed completely. Soldiers were now being educated in quantum physics, technological adaptation, and interdimensional theory. Traditional combat skills were supplemented with advanced technological understanding. Artificial intelligence systems were pushed beyond their previous limitations. Complex algorithms worked continuously, analyzing every piece of data about the cosmic Titan. Machine learning platforms developed potential containment strategies faster than human researchers could imagine. International cooperation reached unprecedented levels. Countries that had been traditional enemies now shared research, technology, and resources. The approaching threat made previous human conflicts seem meaningless. Genetic research laboratories began exploring human adaptability. If technology alone couldn't stop the Titan, perhaps human biological potential could provide an unexpected solution. DNA modification programs accelerated, looking for any possible advantage. Energy production was revolutionized. Nuclear fusion, research that had been slow for decades, suddenly produced breakthrough technologies. New energy systems were developed that could potentially generate the massive power required for quantum containment. Communication networks were rebuilt to handle unprecedented data transfer. Quantum communication technologies that were once experimental now became standard. Information could now be transferred instantaneously across global networks. Agricultural systems were modified to ensure food security during potential global disruption. Vertical farming technologies, previously considered experimental, were rapidly implemented in major cities. Humanity was preparing for every possible scenario. Medical research focused on developing technologies that could protect human biology from potential dimensional disruptions. Radiation protection, cellular regeneration, and quantum shielding became primary research areas. Educational systems were quickly adapted. Universities around the world began offering intensive courses in quantum physics, interdimensional theory, and advanced technological adaptation. An entire generation was being prepared for humanity's greatest challenge. Space construction facilities worked around the clock. Massive orbital platforms were being developed, each designed as a potential defensive or research station. These weren't just scientific outposts. They were humanity's forward observation points. As weeks passed, something remarkable happened. The initial fear transformed into a global sense of purpose. Humanity, for the first time in its history, stood united. The approaching cosmic titan had done what no previous challenge could. It had made humans see themselves as a single, unified species. The preparation phase was more than just a scientific endeavor. It was a testament to human potential, adaptability, and collective determination. The titan was coming, and humanity would be ready. The first visual contact happened at 0300 hours GMT. Captain Siak Kwan watched through reinforced view screens as the cosmic titan emerged from quantum darkness. Nothing in his military training could have prepared him for this moment. Experimental interceptor squadrons positioned themselves in carefully calculated formations. Each spacecraft carried quantum restraint generators, technologies developed in the last months of preparation. They looked like ordinary ships, but they were humanity's most advanced technological achievement. The Titan moved differently from any known space entity. It didn't travel. It simply existed in multiple locations simultaneously. Dimensional, ripples spread around its massive form, warping space and time with casual indifference. Entire star clusters seemed to bend and twist as it approached. "Quantum generators at maximum capacity," announced Lieutenant Minho, his hands steady despite the immense tension. The ship's internal systems hummed with unprecedented energy levels. Years of theoretical research were about to be tested in real combat. Initial contact was nothing like anyone expected. The Titan didn't attack directly. Instead, it began manipulating surrounding quantum fields, creating localized reality distortions that threatened to tear apart the interceptor squadrons. Captain Kwan's training kicked in. "Quantum stabilization protocols," he commanded. The ship's experimental systems activated, creating microscopic dimensional anchors that prevented complete reality disintegration. Around them, other human vessels were experiencing similar challenges. Some disappeared momentarily, only to reappear kilometers away. Others seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously, partially solid, partially energy, partially something else entirely. Dr. J. Park monitored everything from the Global Command Center. His theoretical models were being tested in real time, each moment providing critical data about the cosmic titan's fundamental structure. The first direct engagement happened unexpectedly. A quantum pulse from one of the interceptor ships managed to create a momentary disruption in the Titan's energy matrix. It wasn't damage, but it was the first time humanity had actually interacted with the entity on its own terms. "We're creating quantum stress points," Dr. Yuna Lee observed, analyzing incoming data streams. Her research suggested that consistent quantum manipulation might potentially restrict the Titan's movement. Military strategists had prepared for total destruction. Instead, they were discovering something more complex. The Titan wasn't just a destroyer. It was a living, adaptive system that responded to technological interactions. Massive energy discharges erupted around the interceptor squadrons. Reality itself seemed to become unstable. Ships that maintained strict quantum synchronization survived, while those with even slight technological inconsistencies simply vanished. Admiral Hyun Kim watched the live feeds, understanding that this was more than a military engagement. This was a fundamental interaction between human technology and a cosmic entity that existed beyond traditional understanding. Quantum restraint generators began showing unexpected results. Instead of destroying the Titan, they were creating localized compression zones. The entity's massive form started experiencing resistance. something it had never encountered in millions of years of cosmic wandering. Communication systems picked up strange quantum frequencies. They weren't messages in any traditional sense, but complex information patterns that suggested the Titan was analyzing humanity's technological response. "We're actually communicating," Dr. Park whispered, watching complex mathematical patterns emerge from the interaction. The Titan wasn't just a destroyer, it was a complex system capable of adaptation and potential understanding. Each moment of confrontation revealed more. Human technology, developed in just months of preparation, was demonstrating capabilities that surpassed all previous scientific expectations. The experimental quantum systems were creating dimensional stress points that actually seemed to limit the Titan's movement. Captain Kwan's squadron maintained formation, their ships creating a complex quantum network that seemed to push against the Titan's fundamental structure. They weren't fighting in a traditional sense. They were engaging in a complex mathematical dialogue that threatened the entity's existence. As hours passed, something remarkable became clear. Humanity wasn't just defending itself. They were actually beginning to understand and potentially control a cosmic entity that had consumed entire civilizations. The initial confrontation wasn't a battle. It was the first conversation between humanity and a force beyond traditional comprehension, and humanity was holding its ground. The quantum fields around the cosmic Titan began to change. What had seemed impossible just hours before was now becoming reality. Dr. J. Park watched the holographic displays, his hands trembling with a mixture of excitement and disbelief. Compression zones started forming around the massive entity. These weren't just theoretical projections anymore. They were real, measurable restrictions that seemed to limit the Titan's impossible movements. Each quantum pulse from human technology created another layer of potential containment. Captain Seo Kwan's interceptor squadron maintained a complex formation that defied traditional understanding of space combat. Their ships moved in perfect synchronization, creating a living network of quantum interference that pushed against the Titan's fundamental structure. "We're actually doing something," Dr. Yuna Lee whispered, analyzing data streams that showed unprecedented interactions. The cosmic Titan, an entity that had consumed thousands of civilizations, was experiencing its first true resistance. Alien observation platforms watched in stunned silence. Civilizations that had surrendered to the Titan years ago now witnessed humanity doing what they had considered impossible. The quantum compression wasn't just slowing the entity, it was actively restricting its movement. Admiral Hyun Kim understood the significance of each moment. This wasn't just a military engagement. This was a fundamental challenge to the universe's understood laws of physics and dimensional interaction. Quantum generators developed in hidden research facilities around the world began showing capabilities that exceeded all previous theoretical models. Each pulse created microscopic dimensional stress points that seemed to literally squeeze the cosmic Titan's massive form. The entity responded in ways no one could have predicted. Instead of destroying, it began to adapt. Complex energy patterns shifted and twisted, trying to find weakness in humanity's technological network. But for the first time, it was being forced to defend, not attack. Communication systems picked up strange quantum frequencies. They weren't traditional messages but complex information patterns that suggested the Titan was analyzing humanity's unexpected technological response. It was learning, adapting, but also being contained. Underground research facilities around the world worked continuously. Every piece of data, every millisecond of interaction was analyzed, processed, and used to refine the quantum compression technologies. Humanity was learning how to fight an enemy that existed beyond traditional understanding. Dr. Park's theoretical models transformed from academic speculation into practical containment strategies. The mathematical patterns they had developed were actually working. The cosmic Titan was being compressed, restricted, controlled. Massive energy discharges erupted around the interceptor squadrons. Reality itself seemed to become unstable. Ships that maintained strict quantum synchronization survived, creating localized zones of dimensional stability that pushed against the Titan's fundamental structure. Global communication networks became a living, breathing system of technological resistance. Every research center, every scientific institution contributed real-time data that helped refine the quantum compression techniques. The Titan's massive form began to show signs of restriction. Dimensional ripples that had once spread across entire star clusters now became more localized. Its ability to consume and destroy was being actively challenged by human technology. Artificial intelligence systems worked continuously, analyzing every interaction, every quantum pulse. Machine learning platforms developed increasingly complex strategies that pushed the boundaries of technological understanding. Captain Kwan's squadron represented more than a military unit. They were living proof of human adaptability, technological innovation, and collective determination. Each ship moved with a precision that suggested they were more than just vehicles. They were extension of a global technological network. Dr. Yuna Lee's research team discovered something extraordinary. The quantum compression wasn't just restricting the Titan. It was actually forcing the entity to communicate in ways it had never done before. Complex information patterns suggested a form of interaction that went beyond traditional understanding. As hours passed, the impossible became possible. Humanity was actually containing a cosmic entity that had consumed thousands of civilizations. The turning point wasn't just a military victory. It was a fundamental challenge to the universe's understood laws. The cosmic Titan, for the first time in its existence, was experiencing true resistance. And humanity was winning. The final moments of containment arrived with unexpected silence. Dr. J. Park watched as the quantum matrices converged, creating a living cage around the cosmic Titan. What had seemed impossible just days before was now becoming reality. Massive energy fields began to compress, creating a complex dimensional prison that defied all previous scientific understanding. The Titan, an entity that had consumed thousands of civilizations, was being systematically restricted by human technology. Captain Seok Kwan's interceptor squadron maintained their precise formation. Each ship worked like a living cell in a massive, technological organism, pushing against the entity's fundamental structure. Their quantum generators created intricate compression zones that continued to tighten. Alien observation platforms transmitted their disbelief. Civilizations that had surrendered years ago now watched humanity achieve what they had considered impossible. The cosmic Titan wasn't just being stopped, it was being contained. Admiral Hyun Kim understood the historical significance of each passing moment. Global defense systems worked in perfect synchronization, creating a network of quantum restraint that continued to compress the massive entity. The Titan responded in ways no one could have predicted. Complex energy patterns twisted and shifted, searching for any possible escape. But humanity's technological network was too advanced, too precisely calculated. Dr. Yuna Lee's research team discovered something extraordinary during the final compression phase. The entity wasn't just being contained, it was being forced into a state of communication. Quantum frequencies revealed complex information patterns that suggested a form of interaction beyond human comprehension. Global research centers worked continuously. Every millisecond of data was analyzed, processed, and used to refine the containment strategy. Humanity had transformed from a potential victim to the universe's most unexpected defender. Artificial intelligence systems calculated with unprecedented precision. Machine learning platforms developed increasingly complex strategies that pushed the boundaries of technological understanding. The Titan's massive form continued to compress. The dimensional prison created by human technology was unlike anything previously imagined. It wasn't a physical barrier, but a complex quantum matrix that restricted the entity's fundamental ability to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Communication networks around the world became a living celebration. The initial fear had transformed into a collective sense of achievement. Humanity had done what no other civilization had managed. They had restrained a cosmic entity. Scientific observations revealed something remarkable. The Titan wasn't just being contained, it was being studied. Each quantum pulse provided unprecedented information about dimensional existence, energy transfer, and cosmic interactions. Captain Kwan's squadron represented the pinnacle of human technological achievement. Their ships moved with a precision that suggested they were more than just vehicles. They were extensions of a global technological network capable of challenging cosmic threats. The final compression created a quantum matrix that seemed to exist between possibility and reality. The cosmic Titan, an entity that had consumed entire star systems, was now reduced to a contained research subject. Alien diplomatic representatives could only watch in stunned silence. The youngest civilization in the known universe had achieved what seemed impossible. Humanity had not just survived, they had conquered a threat beyond comprehension. Dr. Park's theoretical models had transformed from academic speculation into practical reality. The mathematical patterns they had developed were now containing an entity that existed beyond traditional understanding of space and time. Global celebration erupted spontaneously. People who had been preparing for total destruction now understood that they had achieved something extraordinary. Humanity had proven its potential to the universe. The contained Titan became more than just a prisoner. It became a subject of unprecedented scientific research. Every quantum pulse revealed new information about dimensional existence, energy transfer, and cosmic interactions. As the final compression completed, something unexpected happened. The Titan began to communicate, not through traditional means, but through complex quantum frequencies that suggested a form of intelligence far beyond human comprehension. Humanity had done more than contain a cosmic threat. They had opened a door to understanding the universe in ways no civilization had ever imagined possible. The cosmic Titan was restrained, and humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning.